Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Indieheads Podcast. I'm your host, Matty, a.k.a. at Monrovian Prince on Twitter. On this week's podcast, we have...
AJ Moser coming to you live from my parents' basement.
What's up? This is at horse_jeans on twitter.com. You might know me as Jackson, that boy, that man.
Hey, I am he who shall not be named. And also there's Zach.
I just want you all to know we've been talking for over an hour, and we still haven't gotten anywhere closer to figuring anything out, so this should be fun.
Deliberations.
Fun.
The culture demands deliberation.
See, we're gonna make these final decisions on this podcast because we are doing our third annual podcast awards, or fourth annual. I have no idea. Honestly, 2014 is kind of retconned in the Indieheads podcast canon for me because we only did like 2 podcasts and they were both horrible. It's canceled. 2014 is canceled. So
bring back Nick. I
Strike
miss
it from
him.
the cannon.
This is the third annual podcast awards. Been doing these for 3 years now, baby. And honestly, here's the thing. By the way, we probably passed it up, but it is the third anniversary of the podcast. We've been doing this for over 3 years now. So well, I'll have a speech at the end at part 3, which is our part 2 of the album of the year. Our podcast awards are kind of confusing because it's like normal awards and then album of the year is in 2 parts. Anyways, but we're just focusing on part 1, the awards itself. We're gonna be talking about albums. We're not talking about our album of the year list. We got some categories. We got some fun stuff. We got some mad stuff ahead. We're going all out on this one. All right, folks. We're going brazy on this podcast awards as none of us can decide anything. Because this is the first...
Why did you say that?
What?
Why did you say that? Good God.
Here's the thing. From previous experiences, it was a lot easier deciding stuff in previous years. But I am confident with what we have chosen, and I'm very happy to present some...
We have mostly...
Can I let out a comment in our defense, and that is that 2017 was an absolutely horseshit year.
I agree.
And it's going to be difficult to exercise whatever demons need to be exercised in this podcast.
Yeah.
But we're gonna try.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I think this year is a weird year because there are certain categories that we straight out cut this year because we're just like there's nothing, like we just can't say anything. And there's one category that we almost thought about cutting, but we cannot because the winner we have to talk about our winner, and that we're going to start off right off the bat. Our first category of the night, meme of the year. It's always been our opener, and we've had some good ones in previous years. Last year, what was last year's?
It wasn't Current's last year. That was 2 years ago.
No, Current's was.
It was the next funeral, I believe.
It was the next funeral. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
And
one.
so this one
at the time it made sense, but it didn't quite hold up like Current's for me for our first pick. But this one I think is a very confident. Okay, Jackson just went on camera. He's got the big bar brand hoodie on because. Oh,
you know it, baby.
All right,
you know it. The winner of meme of the year this year has never lost. Because the meme of this year has to be LeVar Ball and the Big Baller brand.
I was gonna hold. I accidentally spoiled it. So, but we've got a couple good categories. But we'll talk about LeVar Ball in a second because he is our winner. Yes, but there are some very good categories this year. Number 1, we have Man's Not Hot. That was a good meme. That was fun. It was a nice little
quality meme.
It was a nice little fun thing. You know,
some might say it was a Song of the Year contender.
The thing that's better than the actual song and video, though, is the Genius video in which he explained the lyrics to "Man's Not Hot" is like the funniest video I think I watched this year.
Yo, babe,
can you link this in the chat so I can watch it?
Oh, I absolutely will link that in the chat later.
Jackson,
that is a must watch.
Jackson, yo, babes,
yo, babes,
Oh no,
yo, babes,
stop!
Yo, babes.
Oh my God.
But
yes,
Man's Not Hot
is Big Shaq is a treasure, and we are lucky to have him.
Yes, and then our second nomination was "It's Fucking Nice Out." Who's trying to chill and smoke some wild? Feel me? I got loud. Hit my line. Either DM me or hit my line, bro. I got loud. I'm trying to smoke.
This meme was like.
I think how funny you find this meme is funnier than the meme itself.
Oh, for sure. Like this meme, it's like a contender for the year because it fully derailed an episode of the podcast.
It's the only reason. It's the only reason I picked it was because that
exactly.
For me, my funnest podcast experience in 2017 was derailing the Billboard podcast.
Well, for me personally, I love this meme.
It's great, and is it Young King Dave or Big King Dave?
Young King Dave is what it is. Yeah,
Young King Dave is a national treasure, and I hope he keeps popping up for the next couple months, because here's the thing, he kind of disappears for a little bit, and you kind of forget about him, and then he has a new video that's just like so it's fucking nice.
He had a good one recently.
It's fucking nice that went viral, and it's like, it's funny, and it disappeared for like a month, and then Smoking Doinks and Amish came through. And
what
was
a
like,
fucking just a real repeat winner all around. Honestly,
Smoking Doinks and Amish is the Soft Sounds for Another Planet to It's Fucking Nice Out Psychopomp.
If there has ever been a more the Indieheads podcast statement, I challenge someone to find it.
And then the last very important. Oh, actually, the next meme of the year is of course, nothing is funny in 2017. There is no joy. It's all gone.
This was my nomination. Again, 2017 was an absolute horseshit year, and nothing was funny to me this year.
Big move.
Except for Ted Cruz jacking off, which was very funnie.
Ted Cruz jacking off was actually funny, yeah.
See,
and I did thoroughly enjoy watching LeVar Ball own Chris Cuomo and Donald Trump on live national TV. Prime time.
For me, my LeVar Ball moment, Zach, would you agree with me on this one? My LeVar Ball moment was him going on Miz TV and just completely going off unscripted. Miz talked about it in an interview and said that basically they were backstage, and LeVar was like, "Oh, I'm fine." Just went off the script. It just has the weird walk entrance. Is like legitimately like, I'm gonna beat up the Miz basically, and then takes off his shirt and starts doing like ninja poses.
Yeah. When LeVar Ball took off his shirt, that was like the moment I was just 100% sure crossed into some other dimension.
And then Lonzo said the N-word on WWE television.
No, that was LaMelo. He said it twice.
It was LaMelo. It was great. It was all wonderful in a beautiful, beautiful way. And LeVar Ball is a treasure, and I have given him my personal capital that I've accrued because I believe that he deserves it.
So I will say this is the first time we'll make this reference on the podcast. I think we might mention it later on, but basically LeVar Ball is the day man to Donald Trump's night man, essentially. It's just
it is true.
He is the perfect opponent for Donald Trump, because they both are masters of changing the topic. There's a better word for it, probably.
It is top 10 anime rivalries come to life.
Exactly, because they're both the perfect adversaries.
When a darkness rises in the Force, a light comes to meet it.
That's right. Yes.
We're not gonna get there. We're not going there.
I am not going to dispute LeVar Ball.
Speaking of,
there is one important thing we are forgetting about the Ted Cruz jacking off meme. It's that it happened on 9/11.
I forgot.
Okay,
I totally forgot.
Well, I had a question for you guys on this one, which is that, do you think Ted Cruz has several very strange and disturbing rituals around this masturbation?
He absolutely masturbates on 9/11. I think, he might masturbate, he might exclusively masturbate on 9/11 for 20
Is that just like Alex Jones and smoking weed once a year to test its potency?
Yeah.
I understand why we didn't pick Alex Jones, because 2016 was kind of the peak year for Alex Jones memery, because he got the president elected. But 2017
was the year that we realized that was a bad thing to promote.
Yeah, but the whole custody proceedings, just the chili bowl. He forgot his kid's birthday or something because he ate a really large bowl of chili.
Yeah, big mood.
Anyways, LeVar Ball is our meme of the year, and I'm very proud to stand behind that, because LeVar Ball, I will say I am the least knowledged in LeVar Ball out of all of us, but I can stand by this just because of what I've heard and what I've seen. It's just this man is a living meme, and I love him.
All right, let's move on.
I also give him mad respect for taking on the NCAA, but that's for another podcast.
That is a different podcast.
LeVar Ball is a hero.
Yeah, let's get this moving, folks.
Biggest disappointment of the year.
Now, our first two nominees infuriate me, and I'm just going to say that right off the bat and probably not say much else until we're done with them.
Okay, so our first nomination, which AJ, just don't interrupt. Just let me say it, and then you can go off. Okay, our first nomination is Arcade Fire. Everything Now.
Well, the problem with that is. No, it's not. I mean, objectively speaking, of course, I think people were certainly disappointed by this album. I am disappointed in them, and my biggest disappointment of the year is that this genius album is misunderstood online. But it certainly earned its spot on this list.
Our second nomination.
I won't fight anymore.
I think having an album with "Put Your Money on Me" and "We Don't Deserve Love" back to back, like
as I slowly shrink into a corn cob, Everything Now is a good album.
Okay. Our second nomination is St. Vincent Mass Seduction, and this is my personal pick. Which Alex is very upset at, but I mean we talked about it 2 podcasts ago, so 2 months ago we discussed this, and I still stand by it. My take in that it's because everyone is like Jack Antonoff. Here's the thing with Jack Antonoff, as I've discussed with in the context of Mass Seduction. I don't think he's at fault for why I don't like this album. It's for me. It's just it's Annie. It's just this is the creative vision she went with, and it's one that I just did not think was. I just did not like it, and that's all I'll have to say.
I think this is a horribly misunderstood album, and it's like just so much better than people give it credit
I would say
for.
if when we're not doing this podcast, I would love to discuss it at a later time. I think. Because I could
go for 30 minutes.
Because I would like to here's the thing. I don't want to hate Mass Seduction because I love St. Vincent. It's just like I can't deny my feelings, Alex. Okay, I can't deny my feelings. But anyways, our next nomination, Zach, I'll let you take this one because this one I think this wasn't a nomination last year, but it probably should have been.
This says Ask me why I lie awake at night, folks. Ask me why, and I will tell you it is because another year has gone by and Pusha T has not released King Push. Like, I'm almost ready to give up, but a few weeks ago, Jackson clued me in that there was a snippet, and it sounded amazing, and now my hopes are back up again, and I'm ready for them to inevitably be dashed in 2018. But at this point, I don't care. Pusha T can do what he wants.
It's true. Apparently, they've made like a full album like 2 or 3 times and scrapped it entirely because it's just like this isn't good enough.
Isn't that what people say about like literally every single Kanye West album though? Or like I feel like I've heard that exact narrative so many times of being like. They scrapped this album.
I think
that might be because Kanye is working on this album like 100. Like this album is apparently 100% produced by Kanye West. So that is probably why you're hearing a similar narrative to the usual Kanye thing. Is that this was that story from this year where they were apparently working on it at the top of a mountain in Montana.
Actually, Jackson, do you have the link to the snippet still saved? I think I want to listen to it while I try not to cry myself to sleep tonight.
I will find that to you and help soothe your pain of not hearing this album because I feel similarly.
All right, and
thank you, friend.
So while Zach has a breakdown, sorry, Jackson. While Zach has a breakdown, and Jackson will eventually join him because he can't resist. Our fourth nomination is actually AJ. I'll let you take this one because you're very AJ or Alex. I'm not. I feel like.
Who's
the most mad about that?
All of us really.
Did not give Japanese Breakfast Best New Music this year, which proves their descent into complete irrelevancy in the indie music world.
Yeah, if their fate wasn't sealed, eons ago, this certainly was after the entire music industry turned around to say that only we were correct in awarding Psychopomp our 2016 Album of the Year award, that in retrospect, of course, that was the only decision, and in fact, Psychopomp was the only good album released in 2016. This media conglomerate had the audacity not to award Michelle Zauner and the Collective a Best New Music award, and instead went for the paltry 8.1 score. Which is fine, of course. Seeing Jay Brecky thrive makes us all thrive. But
let me find the note.
So much.
It was just a weird choice, Like Pitchfork makes political choices when they review albums now, but this one, it was just a curveball.
Because here's
why would you not give Japanese Breakfast at least a low Best New Music?
And then where did it place in their top 50?
I think was it on there?
It didn't.
Yeah, it didn't. So Pitchfork, meet me in the streets, baby, because it's over. We're done.
Okay. I think the funniest thing is that wait, Zach, because I'm sorry, I need it.
I have a tiny objection to this being a disappointment. They reviewed 3 of the singles and didn't give any of them Best New Track. I think you could read the tea leaves on that one.
That was objectively wrong, though, and we were hoping that they would correct their awful mistake.
Why on earth would you expect them to do that?
Okay, well, here's the thing.
They also gave most of the Arcade Fire singles Best New Music, and then trashed
only everything now.
Okay, here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing, Zach.
I thought it was I thought they did Electric Blue also.
I'm gonna say Zach has a point because we were blinded by our own hubris because so at Pitchfork Fest, after the first night, we were all waiting for the Jay Brecky review because we knew it was gonna happen. It was gonna happen, and we all made our predictions, and literally all of us put it in. We all predicted that it would get Best New Music, and the lowest score was an 8.4, and
Icarus before us.
We were all expecting it to get Best New Music. All right.
So really, it sounds like the people who are disappointment was not actually Pitchfork for doing what they always do, but perhaps it was for us for believing that Pitchfork would do anything other than the awful shit that they always do all the time.
Fair enough.
Which leads us to our final nominee for biggest disappointment of the year. Matty, you want to take this one?
Yes, our final nomination
and winner
of the biggest disappointment of the year is the Indieheads Podcast. 3 years in a row. We're so disappointing. We got the
Never lost.
Right.
We said
we released 4 podcasts this year. They all sucked. I can't think of a better choice.
To be fair, 4 hours of our podcast is about 20 hours worth of content.
This is true. This is very true.
There's a lot of rewatchability. You got to go back and reanalyze every detail. It's David Fincher-esque in the level of attention to detail paid.
Yeah, we're like the Christopher Nolan of podcasts in that the first time you watch it doesn't really count. You're just kind of absorbing the story, but then the true watch is the second or third time through.
Exactly.
You gotta analyze that shit like the Zapruder film.
Are we all just gonna mention our tour blockbuster directors and that
like Christopher Nolan.
Well,
we're not gonna have a discussion about whether Christopher Nolan's not.
The biggest disappointment.
We're moving on from this.
Dunkirk never lost.
I think the Indieheads Podcast could do better by being more like a Michael Bay film.
This is not wrong.
Hold on. I got a great thing. The Indieheads Podcast. All the incomprehensibility of a Christopher Nolan film and all the hubris of a Max Landis screenplay.
Yikes! And only half of the racism. To be perfectly fair, hold on. This is one of the most asides we've ever had. But my curiosity got the best of me last night, and I did start Bright, and I made it exactly 4 minutes. I made it exactly 4 minutes in when they showed actual footage of the Joe Rogan podcast where he was discussing should orcs be cops, and I said I don't think this movie is for me.
No, that's not real. That's not real.
You only have to make it 4 minutes in.
You made that up.
No.
You made that up.
I'm afraid, folks, he's telling the truth.
Fucking
wow.
So Max Landis is a legitimately horrible person. He's just legitimately
Yep.
awful.
Tired.
We won't. That's why I got iffy when you mentioned him, because it's like, well, not only did he write this terrible screenplay, people have accused him of sexual assault, and that's why I was like, ugh. But Max Landis is terrible. We are an anti-Max Landis podcast all the way through, as should every other podcast in the world. Anyways, Breakout Star of the Year.
My bad.
Let's get right into it. Breakout Star of the Year, our first nomination. We're gonna hold off on that one. We're gonna hold off because I gotta prep. Okay, I gotta prep for that.
We'll clear the lane for you.
Okay,
all right.
I have to charge up. All right, I gotta charge up for this one. But continue.
All right, Breakout Stars of the Year, first nomination. I'm gonna go with this one here on the list. I am going to go with Big Thief as a Breakout Star of the Year. They kind of were rumbling a little last year. There was a little small buzz, but this year they like exploded, and they got the Pitchfork cosign. They got a lot of people really loving that capacity ish, including Jason Mantzoukas is like a really big Thief head. Yeah, they're pretty big now, and like it's real cool to see them blow the fuck up because they are good.
Capacity is a very deserving album too for all this praise. Like, it's that primo shit, and it's one of like the only 3 albums that I have been able to listen to in this like terrible second act of the year. I guess that makes the year only 2 acts, but whatever. It's excellent. Our next Breakout Star of the Year is Igloo Ghost.
Igloo Ghost.
Does anyone else want to talk about that?
Igloo Ghost is really good, and this year seemed like the culmination point of the hype around those EPs that Igloo Ghost has been dropping. And also, Igloo Ghost is my winner for Reddit AMA of the year, because goddamn, Igloo Ghost is just the most interesting character in terms of like that his electronic music albums secretly have this weird story about that, like how there's like planets and characters and like a world in them, and also he's just like very funny and seems like an insane person in the best way. And so shout out to Igloo Ghost. Igloo Ghost is cool.
And I made a last-minute addition to this list because I kind of felt like it was a glaring oversight in our problem, that being the boys of Brockhampton, who quite literally exploded onto the hip-hop scene this year. Like, they were, I don't know, if you were a hip-hop fan and you were on Twitter.com, I think they were genuinely inescapable. And I only came around to their music, like, I would say in the latter half of their rise to power, but they fucking own, man. They made 3 like incredibly good albums this year, which is wild. It's hard enough to drop one.
This is 100% my pick for this category, because like the wild thing that they did was that like in releasing this trilogy of albums, like the first album was like their debut album, where it was like they had some fans because of the Kevin Abstract album that came out last year, which I liked. And then, like, they had a little bit of buzz around them, and they dropped a couple music videos that started to get a little buzz on the internet, and people were like, oh, these are some cool music videos, some cool singles here, some catchy tunes, and then the album came out, and some people started to check it out and be like, this is good. And by the end of the first album cycle, it was like, okay, this is a thing now, maybe they'll do something cool in the future. Well, they decided that something cool in the future they would do would be, like, next month. And then they immediately dropped Saturation 2, and they like just accelerated the hype cycle like threefold, because like instead of like it usually takes like a year, like usually they artist has to put out an album, then they become like a thing in the conscience, and then the next album they put out will have some sort of hype before it, and then that will allow that album to be bigger. And these are gradual things that happen, and they're just like, no, we are doing this now. We cannot stop making bangers, so we will refuse to stop until we've made 3 albums that are all great. And yeah, absolutely, my Breakout Stars of the Year. Shout out to that sweet boy band, my sons.
What's the kind of is there a consensus on like what the the definitive ranking of all three saturations? Like
there is no consensus. It is very much a personal thing, because they are like all close enough in quality that I've seen them ranked all three ways. My personal take is that 3 is the best one, and 1 and 2 are equal for different reasons. Like
I think I still like 1 the most, but that's just me.
1, I think, has the best highlights, and I think it also has some growing pains in terms of them exploring some of the more experimental parts of their sound. But I like the singles on 1 are like probably the best material of their career, but I think it's a little inconsistent in the way that 2 and 3 aren't. And I think 2 is more consistent than 1, but it's just kind of a retread of some of the same stuff on 1, and I think 3 is the best combination of those two. That's my take. Anyways, that's yeah, they're good.
I made a nomination as well. He's here in spirit as the he's the just happy to be here token country dude, but Tyler Childers. He dropped a very, very, very good alt country album earlier this year called Purgatory that I completely ignored until the whole Sturgill Simpson stuff from November, I think, and we'll get to that later, but Purgatory is a really great album that a lot of people overlooked. Like, Pitchfork didn't even bother to review it, which, again, Pitchfork doing the wrong thing all of the time.
I'm shocked.
But, yeah, it was a really, really great alt-country album, and a year that had quite a handful of them. Honestly, it was like 1 or 2 songs being better away from overtaking Jason Isbell for my favorite country album of the year.
Hell yeah!
But now, here we are.
Oh boy!
Our fifth and final nomination, and our winner of Breakout Star of the Year.
No, I don't think we agreed on that, but okay.
We did.
Continue.
No, we did because you guys. You guys did. All right, Jackson, don't fucking lie to the people, okay? The Indieheads podcast.
Don't expose the Democratic Party.
Indieheads podcast will never be exposed as
Jackson,
liars.
don't let your personal bias get in the way of party unity.
And Jackson, you know why the Indieheads podcast will never be exposed as liars? Because we never tell a lie, and our Breakout Star of the Year is Lomelda, baby. I can't really yell because my Lomelda is the Breakout Star of the Year. Lomelda. Okay, here's the thing. I've talked up a storm about Lomelda. I've talked up a storm. Thanks is my album of the year. It's not my album of the year. It is the album of the year. All right. I don't care what any of the. I don't care what
the damn podcast.
AJ, did you say no on me?
Mm-hmm.
AJ, motherfucker.
I did do that.
By 2018, I guarantee you will be a part of the Lomelda Hive. All right. You will join.
That.
We are small, but we are strong, and we are growing. Because
I think you're making a lot of assumptions about this, Matty.
I am.
Yeah.
Because I'm hyped.
I'm gonna say that because this podcast is actually an autocratic dictatorship run by our golden horny.
This is the only
prince.
one that I get. This is the one I get. This is the one, but we agreed. I get this one.
Yes, this is you are the Debbie Wasserman Schultz of this podcast, and we will allow you to do what you believe is right. Brockhampton is objectively a bigger Breakout Star. That being said, Lomelda fucking whips ass. That's why I am allowing this takeover, is because I actually do love Lomelda dearly with all my heart, even though I don't think she's. I think my hope for Lomelda is that she might have a similar Pine Grove-esque trajectory, not okay. I realize immediately that is terrible and awful. Evan is really not good. But in terms of the album that was like making end of the year lists, and finally people started to catch on to it in like January, February of the next year, where it was like, hey, this album made a bunch of people's end of year lists. Maybe I should check this thing out. And then like the Hive really rolling into full force a good like 6 months to a year into the next year after it came out. That being said, I immediately regretted my decision to make that analogy.
All right,
we're all
I'll be very genuine, very quick with this Lomelda album. Again, I've talked about things in length, and I just because someone asked me like, hey, like I'm seeing this, like, hey, like sort of explain to me this album, like why do you like this album so much? And for me, I'll put it simply. Thanks is an album about emotional and physical distance from the ones that we love, and it really explains those feelings very well of distance, feeling distance, as I said, physically and mentally, from significant others to family to friends, etc. And I love Thanks a Lot because it's just the way that Hannah Reid, the way that she writes her songs is that they're very personal. They're very much, that these are real experiences that she had, but she leaves enough open that you can fill in the blanks with what happens with what's happened in your own life, and find something to connect with in all these songs, because there's enough openness that I think she explained that she wanted to make an album that it was okay to feel sad too. It was okay to feel sad, but it was okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel things, and that's what Thanks really did for me, is that it made me feel things, and I love it a lot. And for me, Wilmelda was my breakout star of 2017. I'm not sure if it was the podcast, but this is the one that I get, and I love Wilmelda a lot. All right, and I'm hopefully seeing her soon, and check out our interview with her. It's real good.
Heck yeah. I will agree with all those thoughts about an album that is very lovely and good and special to my heart as well. But yes.
You do know you've made it when you have an interview on the Indieheads podcast.
Exactly.
Shouts out.
Actually, wait, hold on. Can I real quickly? We fucked up big time on this category. Why the hell was Remo Drive not nominated for this category? What are we doing with our lives?
Oh, God.
We fucked up so bad.
Why
Please
Legal
forgive
Ghost
us.
here? My God. Okay.
I don't.
All right.
Fucking put him there.
Wait,
Okay.
I put Legal Ghost? Or no, I didn't put Legal Ghost.
I thought you did.
No.
I think that might have been an early. I don't think we really combed over this one as well as we did some of the other ones. Remo Drive. They are good boys. They are my large adult sons who I love with my heart, and they catapulted to the crown of maybe the most exciting band within the pop punk / emo revival space. Going forward,
they are officially the only not problematic band in the indie or the emo space. Congratulations to Remo Drive. Don't fuck it up.
The only good boys. We are watching you closely, but yeah. We love these boys. We love them with all our heart. They came on our podcast because they were just about to be too big to come on our podcast, and we caught them at the right time. Shout out to them. Greatest hits fucking revs my damn engine.
It whips my entire ass. Just straight up. My ass has never been whipped so hard.
All right, yeah, that'd be okay. Remo Drive is, I would say, a good runner-up. Brockhampton and Remo Drive tie for runner-up. Wilmelda, breakout star of the year. Boom.
Sure.
But Zach.
As long as we're talking about questionable oversights, and I'll keep this quick because I didn't listen to the album, but isn't it kind of weird that priests aren't on this?
They've been around.
Priests have been around too long.
And also, I feel like the train on Priest sort of cooled off as the year. I think
that's what happens when you release your record in January, folks.
That
shouts out to Q1 2018, though.
Shouts out to Sanfa.
Yo.
And I like the Priest album a lot, but Priest, they kind of, they already had broken through at this point. Like, the album was just sort of like, oh, they finally put out an album, because the EPs and whatnot, they were not like they just barely missed like true breakout status, I would say.
I don't know about you guys, but my breakout star was that Mr. Kendrick Lamar. Damn is a good record. Have you heard it in stores now?
All right,
Nation so soon.
Okay, we will get to that.
Right, moving on.
Get to that. EP,
we gotta move on.
EP mixtape collaboration of the year. I'm not sure why we have collaboration because there's no collaborations on this list.
There is one.
Oh wait, there's one. I forgot. Okay, so
collaborations between good music and good music.
So
good music and good times.
I will let AJ.
Hell yeah!
I'll let AJ take this first nomination.
Okay, this one is a local shout out, fresh from Lansing, Michigan. I did put it on like number 3 of my albums of the year list, but it is technically an EP clocking in at 21 minutes, and I did consider, for the culture, making this my album of the year just so it would be, more ridiculous that I somehow found an album of the year that was shorter than Psychopomp. But it's the EP Rhodia by Swordfish, which is just, since we're talking about good emo music, this is probably the best emo thing I listened to all year, just like the kind of emo I like, which is fast and yelpy and has lots of horns in it. This just goes horns and delivers everything I've wanted. The band unfortunately no longer exists and is operating as Swordfish, but this is a fucking incredible EP, and I don't really think a lot of people will come around to it now that the band is over, but I mean, I'm going to be I'm going to be playing songs from this thing till the day I die. Like, if you're into emo and you did not listen to this EP from this year, all I have to say is you fucked up, but there's still time to go check it out.
I would like to give one big fat cosign to this because of all the things that our many podcast friends recommend to me all the time that I forget to listen to. I did check this out because it is very short. It is very easy to give it a shot. And oh baby, when my man's here sings the because when you get drunk it's not to have fun, and when you give up it's not because you're in love on Social Drinker.
Yo, buddy, fuck me up, baby.
Buddy, did I feel that? Buddy, did I feel that? This EP/album short thing rules. It's really good. It's fun emo music. Shouts out to Michigan gang.
Good state, IMO.
Hard to agree. All right, next on the list, Matty.
Our second nomination is Palm Shadow Expert, and Shadow Expert is my EP of the year. That's actually properly named an EP. It's in terms of for stuff that's actually for sure an EP. This is my EP of the year, and Palm is a band that I'm very, very excited about. Because someone on the Indieheads subreddit, they made a post about this. They're like, "Hey, check out this awesome band called Palm," and I was like, "Okay," and I checked out this awesome band called Palm, and they're awesome. All right, they had my most listened to track of the year, which is a live version of the song "Ankles" on the Auto Tree session. It was my most played song of the year. It's insane.
Which is such a Matty thing to have happen.
Which again is true. It's very bizarre. I mean, I saw it. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm okay. That makes sense. It probably actually. But anyways, this new EP, Shadow Expert, it's incredibly good. And Palm is a very exciting band in indie rock right now. They're very. They really are doing some things that are there's not really many other bands that are doing this right now. Maybe in the past, but right now there's not a whole lot of bands that are kind of that are playing with rhythm and melody and structure like they are. Where I've described them with this analogy that basically it's like if my own anxiety was sonified into music. That's how I describe Palm, and especially this EP, as it's fucking incredible. Songs like Walkie Talkie, god damn son, the way that song. Because what I love about Palm is
damn, son, where'd you find this?
Boom, exactly. But Palm, they have an innate ability of where every song you listen to, it feels like it's about to fall apart. You see the cracks in the structure, you go, oh god, this song's going to fall apart, but it never does, and that's what makes Palm so compelling, is that this building should crumble to the ground, but it doesn't, because they're just that damn good. That's it. That's all.
Hell yeah.
Our third nomination.
All right. I will quickly cover this one, just real brief. For mixtapes of the year, 2 mixtapes released by one Charlie XCX, Number One Angel, and then Pop 2. 2 very, very solid, cool, interesting pop album / mixtape things as we wait for the debut album that is probably never going to come from Charlie XCX.
She's put out two. She's put out 2 albums.
Not her debut album. I mean her next studio album.
XCX3. I'm not even a fan of Charlie XCX, and I knew this is Buddy.
Whatever.
Soon. Jackson's got the Big Bar brand hoodie on right now. It's got some fumes that are going straight into his nose and messing up his perception.
My man's is balling. What can you say?
But you know what is also involves some fumes and some big smoke is my personal pick for mixtape of the year, which is I'll fuck around and slime out Future because I'm super slimy.
Oh, you love fucking
it's
hear
the collaborative mixtape, Young Thug, Future. They're really good rappers. I like when good rappers make good rap albums together. This is one of them. It's a top 20 album of the year for me. I love Super Slimy. I haven't discussed this already too much on this podcast, but shouts out.
It's stupid good, fam, is all I have to say.
And Zach, you can take the last one, which is our pick for EP mixtape collaboration of the year.
Oh god, I really don't know why you guys decided it would be a good idea to let me anchor one of these, but the EP mixtape, a collection of songs, whatever the fuck it is, Steve Lacy's demo by the eponymous Steve Lacy. It still blows my mind every time I listen to it that this was recorded on an iPhone.
It's nuts.
Something like Dark Red was recorded on a phone. And he's like, what, 19? I'm sitting here talking about music with you nerds, and I'm 21. What am I doing with my life? Not what Steve Lacy is doing. That's why Steve Lacy is winning, and that's why I'm losing. And that is why you should listen to Steve Lacy's demo.
It's real good. Like, Steve Lacy is like 18 years old, and he's like on stage in like a leopard print shirt that's like half unbuttoned, and he's doing these beautiful surf rocky soul R&B song things that just rule. Steve Lacy is really cool. He's now the I would say going forward, one of the go-to like is going to be featured on Damn Everything artists in the same vein as Sampha like 2 years ago. Like, Steve Lacy's just gonna be on all those things, including his incredible feature on Damn this year on Pride. So shout out to Steve Lacy for being cool as heck and releasing one of the best EPs released this year, Steve Lacy's demo.
And another thing that we I don't know if we mentioned, Steve Lacy is only 18 years old.
He is absurdly young.
He is absurdly young to be this assured and this confident in his sound. All right, it is absolutely bonkers that this EP is as good as it is, because, as we mentioned, number one, it's all recorded on an iPhone on GarageBand. How does it sound as good as it does? I mean, there's some stuff that sounds kind of like some of the drums sometimes are like the drums on Ride. I love Ride. It was on my Song of the Year list, but God, those drums are. I sometimes think I'm like, ugh, these drums. I don't know, but the fact that he's 18 years old is absolutely fucking bonkers. That someone is like this good, like this young. And already is like this isn't just like, oh, he has potential when he gets older. It's like he's he's got potential, but he's already like at a pretty high level, you know, for someone as young. And another thing to forget, he was Grammy nominated at 16 years old? He was basically Grammy nominated with his work
Something
on the
like
internet.
that.
He was on the internet's last album when he was 16 years old, while he's still in fucking high school. Like, what?
It's insane. Yeah, he belongs in the category of like prodigy geniuses like King Cruel that just make me angry.
Exactly.
Like, stop it.
And he was on
like
a Kendrick again. He had production on a Kendrick Lamar album and a J. Cole album within the same year at 18 years old.
Shout out to Steve Lacy.
I know we hate on J. Cole, but J. Cole's like popularity cannot be denied. And
no, exactly.
That's a huge
impressive
placement for someone like so young and essentially like kind of not as established in the industry. I mean, he's more established than a lot of people, but like
he's on the up and up for sure. Would have been a acceptable candidate for Breakout Star of the Year for sure.
Yes, but we had to give. This is the one we're gonna get it for. So
for sure, shout out to Steve Lacy.
I'm very happy about this pick.
There's a difference between saying, "Oh, this guy has potential," and saying this guy is realizing his potential, and it's all uphill from here. And barring anything calamitous happen, knock on wood, nothing does. Steve Lacy is realizing his potential, and he could still be going for years and years. Like, we could be looking back on it and saying, "Wow, this is kind of bad compared to what he's doing now." Exactly. And that's how insane it is to be saying these things.
Exactly. Yeah, having an artist who's like already so sure of their sound, but also clearly has a ceiling that's like way higher than what it is right now is a rare thing, and so that's why this project is super cool. It's like watching someone who's like a superhero who's just acquired their powers and is clearly super powerful, but is like doesn't exactly know how to utilize all of them yet, but is already whipping ass and is only going to whip more ass. So shout out.
Boom. But our next category is comeback of the year, and our first. Okay, didn't we agree that this? Okay, I'm sorry to break the. We're going behind the scenes real quick on this one, folks. Why is this
the first nominee here was
because
to be crossed off, and
we went directly to the winner, and making all other conversation in this category moot. So maybe we should just do the same.
Okay, our first our first nomination, and one I'm going to automatically null, is Arcade Fire, Everything Now.
Hold on, wait. I did not put this one on this list.
I know you did. AJ did not put this one. Here's the AJ, because here's the AJ. As much as we disagree with your Arcade Fire takes, they're not. You never get dumb with your takes. It's very understandable why you make those takes.
I've never had a bad take.
Well,
this is a dumb take to call it a comeback of the year. This is. I mean, didn't we discuss this on the Take or Treat podcast as a bad take?
Yeah. Exactly. This was very specifically discussed on the Take or Treat podcast that Everything Now is not a comeback album because it was released in a normal Arcade Fire album cycle.
There's honestly one true comeback on here, and luckily we've picked it as our winner.
I'd say there's two true comeback albums of this year, which actually I would say both. I think okay. So real quickly, I'm just gonna. We don't have to have a full discussion on all of these because a lot of these are albums we've talked about at length before we announced the winner. But Fleet Foxes and Fever Ray both released albums this year that were like at an 8, 9, 10 year kind of interval between albums, and especially the Fever Ray album, which is a project that we did not really know she was going to like return back to. So I think Fever Ray Plunge is definitely a worthy nominee for Comeback of the Year. And Fleet Fox, although we all have differing opinions over those Fleet Foxes boys, but that's definitely like a nominee for Comeback Album of the Year because those Indiehead podcast, Indieheads Reddit commenters, they sure do love them a good Fleet Fox, and that it has been like a damn minute since Helplessness Blues. So I think that's definitely a worthy nominee. But the winner, if you don't mind me announcing, Comeback Album of the Year, the audacity of not releasing an album for 22 years and then releasing a really damn good one is fucking nuts. That is wild that we waited 22 years for the goddamn self-titled Slowdive comeback album, and we didn't really even expect it because I think the cool thing that makes this the comeback album of the year was like they've talked about this in interviews. They like had fans obviously, and they had an audience. Like their like Souvlaki was not like hailed as a classic when it came out the way that it became hailed a classic in like the 2000s and 2010s as like shoegaze became this like corner of internet fandom that like had its cult following. And like in the time since Slowdive dropped like Souvlaki and Pygmalion and those albums, like their sound became incredibly influential. Like Souvlaki practically invented the career of Beach House. Like I'm not sure Beach House exists if Souvlaki doesn't exist. And like for them to come back 22 years later and like have all these young fans who like totally didn't know who they were 10 years ago but now are like super into this kind of music, and for them to now find this new audience with their like a little bit more reserved, mature comeback album that people really like a lot for the most part is cool. That's a really cool story in music this year, and so I definitely would give my comeback album of the year to Slowdive. Slowdive, shout out to them. It's real good. I like it a lot.
I mean, it also manages to find like from one of the creators of the genre, essentially finds new waves to push shoegaze forward in 2017 is not an easy feat to do because like if there is a genre that's oversaturated and out of ideas, it is shoegaze, absolutely. And so like the creative things that they managed to do on this album, like just looking at who they are and being like, okay, you could essentially release the same album every year for the rest of your careers and like just kind of get away with it. Cough, cough, you too. But instead to like take 22 years off and then come back with this thing that's like, okay, so here's what we did. We inspired this entire, wave of artists who were doing this thing. We're going to take both of those things and create an entirely new thing is astounding.
Yeah, like that's exactly how I feel. Like Sugar for the Pill is basically what if an XX song was shoegaze is what it is.
Yeah.
And like that rules. Like that's cool. And I like this album a lot. And also No Longer Making Time is that shit. That goddamn shit right there. Oh brother, where art thou? Anyways, does anyone else want to say something about the Slowdive album or any of the other nominees for Comeback of the Year?
Did we even talk about Fortet? They were on the list.
Fortet doesn't count. Fortet, I think that was. I'm pretty sure that was Dylan who put that on there. It's a comeback album it's a comeback in that it's their first like good album in a while, but that doesn't really count.
Yeah,
For me,
it's
that's
a comeback.
I would say that there's a difference between a comeback and a return to form. There's a difference.
Yeah, it's a comeback in the way of the drill tweet that Force Head is good again, ow, wolf howl.
Absolutely.
But beyond that, I don't think it's a serious contender for like a comeback album of the year.
Exactly. But let's get on to something a bit more fun. Clickbait of the year. And you might be saying, wait, didn't you have meme of the year? Isn't this the same?
Oh, this is different, baby.
It's different. It's same,
this is
but different.
The Nightman to meme of the year, in which
I got some shit to
we
say
should-
just for the fuck of it.
Go for it.
Is this category? There's a lot of bullshit in here. In a year full of bullshit, the indie genre of music was not without its own bullshit.
And this is
Wait,
AJ.
Did we even pick a winner? Nothing's folded.
We did pick a winner. I know the winner. We did pick a winner. Here's the thing with AJ. AJ is saying bullshit for two reasons. One, because it's like, oh, some of this stuff is bullshit. It's bullshit in that it's just general bullshit. Like, did they really do this? And the second bullshit is just AJ being mad at us for picking this winner. But let's start with the first one, and one that I think who made a very compelling case for Clickbait of the Year, and he really tried. Father John Misty, or as we have in our nominations page, Father _James Misty .jpg. And Jackson, I'll let you have your moment to shine on this one.
I honestly don't want to go off on Father John Misty just because I've come to the realization that Father John Misty...
It only makes him grow stronger.
Yeah, exactly. He just exists, and he's just going to make albums that I don't like and yelling into the void about how I don't like them, or that I don't like his just general persona. And also the other thing, I think he deserves a nominee for Clickbait of the Year because he says, he'll say an insufferable thing, and then the headline will make it sound way worse than it is somehow. Headlines are very not kind to the specific kind of IRL shit posting that Father John Misty does all the time. And I think this year was actually not I don't think this was the year he takes the victory for Clickbait of the Year, because he's had a long and storied career of just generally being human clickbait.
Well, this was the year for me. This would probably be my pick. This was the year that I had such a tumultuous relationship with Father John Misty, where I thought the singles leading into his album were pretty good Father John Misty songs. Then I thought that his whole persona leading up to the release of the album was just genuinely insufferable, and I wanted it to go away. I did not want to see the words Father John Misty ever again. Then the album came out, and I was like, wow, this is long and this is messy. And I was like, you know what? There are good things in this album. I think I like it. I think I don't like it. And I settled on, I don't really like it that much. And then I saw him live, and I was like, he really brings these songs out. But then the year just continued, and to put it bluntly, Father John Misty continued, and I was not a fan of that. And where we're at now is I don't think I could ever tolerate listening to pure comedy again. I had this relationship with a lot of albums this year where I'm I was saying it earlier about the Dirty Projectors album, where I was like, God damn it, I own that album on vinyl. I wanted to throw my copy away. I don't want to think about that album ever again. And I think pure comedy has reached that point. And to say that in the year 2017, the most insightful album of the year, the most meaningful album of the year, was released by Father John Misty. No, I'm afraid not. This will not stand.
Basically, pure comedy is it's Reed's 1984 Once, and also that one quote by Andy Warhol about 15 minutes of fame. It's like that for an entire 75 minutes. And no. Just no.
I'd be very okay with Father John Misty retiring, bitch. But
our next
about listening to it again. I couldn't think about listening to it more than listen to it once. Yuck.
I straight up have made it through the first track on that album one time. I tried to listen to this album twice, and both times shut off pure comedy. And then at some point I was this was at the point where I was wanting to debate the people that were defending, and I was I need to actually listen to this album so I can have my fully formed opinion.
You just can't do it. You just couldn't.
I have listened to Pure Comedy exactly one time. And that's enough of that. It's gonna be a no from me, dog.
All right, but our next nomination, Morrissey. Morrissey has our third nomination is Morrissey. We'll get to Morrissey, okay?
We'll have a lot to say about him.
Morrissey will have his time to shine in this podcast right here.
We will hold off on Morrissey. Our third nomination is one that we almost forgot about, but one that is very important to mention, and that was all the Kendrick Lamar theories about the second album and Nation and Damn Backwards and all this bullshit.
Damn Backwards. So Damn Backwards turned out to be the only one of those that's actually real, because then he released the collector's edition of Damn where the track listing is backward, and a lot of people, including our dear boy Alex Lil Brexit, have mentioned that Damn actually does have like a distinctly different like feel and dynamic to it backwards in a way that does really genuinely feel like Kendrick intended listening to the album backwards to have a slightly different kind of interpretation and meaning to the album.
It recontextualizes like a lot of what he says. It recontextualizes a lot of what he says and like kind of like elaborates on it in a way, which is weird because it's the same information but just presented in a different order. It kind of like is more direct, and also like it does change meanings, like, in certain songs. I also think, like, I don't know, like, so Damn Forwards, like, as was released, like, Love is a very enjoyable, like, kind of heartwarming song compared to the rest of the album, for me, at least. And then when you listen to it backwards, it goes from love into lust, and it's just absolutely, like, heartbreaking. And also I realized when listening to the album backwards that the events described in Love and the events described in Lust are exactly the same. They're just like portrayed in a different light, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. The clickbait that there was going to be a second album called Nation, and it was going to be called Damnation. That was really funny and bad.
I'm really mad that I bought into that so much too.
Oh my god!
For a second, and the best thing was that this clickbait fire burned so high that Kendrick had to publicly address the rumors that there was a second album. Nah, that was not.
I always hate that theory because here's the thing: people who had that theory were like, "Oh, I'm disappointed by Damn." Basically, they bought into that theory because they had initial disappointments about Damn. But I was never initially disappointed in Damn. I loved Damn from the start, so I didn't really. So it's like, is there going to be a second album? No.
I was like, hopefully not.
No, I'm fine with the album. This album.
The other thing that influenced this trend that I think I forgot about was I don't know exactly on the timing of this, but I think this was like right after Future dropped 2 albums and did that where he was like, I'm dropping an album, and then he was like, surprise, I'm dropping another album.
And there was this exact theory happens like so many times. Like it happened for the Arcade Fire album and the brand new album this year of being like, there's a part 2 coming like next week, and like Future even had to go and be like, no, only 2. Like people were like, there's a third one.
People thought it was whenever you like open like the possibility for like more things to become, people just like lose their, because like we've gotten to the point now where like the way that people present new music is just like throw all conventions out the window, so people will just speculate like no one's damn business. And so that's why I thought Damnation was a good nominee to have on our list this year, because I think it was a funny moment in how Twitter handles all this bullshit.
Poorly.
The threads on Hip Hop Heads and the tweets were amazing to read. Sort of annoying to read at the time, but with hindsight, they are hilarious.
Yeah.
Good.
In hindsight, where we don't have to deal with them on the timeline anymore, the Charlie Kelly mailroom conspiracy action that was going on with this was incredible.
Lame theory.
Lame theory. We gotta. It will come back at a proper
Nation
time.
In stores next week.
The clickbait of the year, however, the uncontested clickbait of the year actually contested. And this is a whole discussion.
Contested, but AJ, mute your fucking mic. Mute your fucking mic for 30 seconds. This one.
I don't even know if I even want to begin talking about this. This is how much this annoyed me this year.
I'll go for it.
Go ahead, Matty.
I'll go for this one because I know halfway through you're going to get a migraine and you're going to stop talking and you're just going to go,
Yes.
You're just going to do that for like 10 seconds. But our clickbait of the year is Arcade Fire released limited deluxe edition everything now branded deluxe USB port / fidget spinner deluxe combos.
Oh my!
Says it all, honestly. Says it all that they're going to release
so
everything now
here's
on
my
fidget spinner.
My brief take on this whole thing is that it's one of those things where it's like, have you ever been to like a student art exhibit that's like very like heavy-handed and kind of poor, and it's like, I get what you're going for here. I agree, but nah, fam.
Jackson, it's literally the scene in Dumb Starbucks from Nathan For You where he has the art exhibit.
It's
literally that.
This felt like a Nathan For You pitch, but without all the joy and comedy and good things about it. What it was.
I don't remember a take at the time, but I think I honestly I'm gonna buy into the theory that Nathan Fielder was behind the Everything Now ad campaign or the Everything Now hype cycle. Like I would think that he was. I'm buying into that theory. It's not true, but I want to believe that it's true.
Well. To understand why this is bullshit, you can visit www.reddit.com/r/indieheads and check out my Album of the Year write-up, where I tactfully take on all of the reasons why this is just objectively incorrect and why the marketing scheme for Everything Now actually works.
Thank you, AJ.
It was a good write-up.
AJ, thank you for keeping those takes off of this podcast and onto the hell on earth that is the Indieheads subreddit.
Shouts out, love my fans.
we love our fans here on the Indieheads Podcast.
I set up 70 plus AMAs, so I kind of have to love the subreddit. I set up 70 AMAs for those bastards. All right.
Can
I
talk about the thing that annoyed me more than the fucking fidget spinners with this campaign?
Yes.
Go for it.
The fucking parody stereo gum review, that is so fucking Bush League. You're Arcade Fire. You should be above making fake websites posting fake reviews of your shitty album.
You know who had the exact same marketing campaign as like that stereo gum thing was Portugal the Man's We've Sold Out marketing campaign.
Oh my god.
The one that they asked us to be in.
Yeah, exactly. Now that wasn't good. They reached out to us.
No.
I fucking hate those guys.
So that was really bad, and like I understand how AJ feels because in the same way that I was a big Portugal the Man fan, and I've had to watch them fall into just complete headassery. Where like on their website they sell like baby T-shirts that says I was born after Portugal the Man sold out.
No, here's the thing.
And like stuff like that.
I legitimately have. So because we did that AI campaign, they sent me like a swag, basically a care package with a bunch of Portugal the Man stuff, and I have a T-shirt that says I liked Portugal the Man before they sold out. Let me find it really quick. Just let's keep talking. But I
want to get a quick last word and then say that.
Can I say that Woodstock was honestly not that bad though?
I didn't like it personally. That's just my opinion.
I think "Feel It Still" is a really enjoyable single, and I appreciate the success it's gotten.
It's a great pop song. I just don't like the way that they're like, if we self-aware point out something people are gonna say about us, we deflect all criticism. It's like you should.
Yeah, that was some shit.
Like talking about selling out in the year of 2017, like this is not the 90s. Like no one cares about selling out anymore. That's like not a thing that like the youth care about the way that it was in the 90s. And so like trying to get in front of a narrative that like no one really just like make good pop songs if that's what you're gonna do, and like don't have such a clear like mental like issue with the thing that you're doing.
Like, let's be honest, in 2017, selling out is the wave. Selling out isn't a dirty thing anymore. It's
100%.
Some sometimes it's celebrated.
My favorite thing in the world is the way that Jesus and Mary constantly remind us that they will take any check that they can get, and they will they will sell out at any and all opportunities, and I have so much respect for that.
More Jesus and Mary conversation coming in our next category, by the way.
Which we can move on to.
I do have the shirt. Yes, it's like I liked Portugal the Man before they sold out. It is a real shirt. I have it. I've never worn it in public because I don't listen to Portugal the Man. And
it's got the mustache of a Portugal the Man fan, that's for sure.
Yikes!
Baby.
Wow.
In the Mountains of Cloud stores now. Go listen.
I'm officially announcing my resignation from the Indieheads podcast.
Yeah, shouts out to Matty. I'm roasted.
All right. This next category is one of the strongest in terms of the number of great nominees you got this year. This category.
Oh no, never mind. I was looking at the wrong category.
Is as Mr. Brandon Flowers would say, this category is 100% USDA certified lean, baby, because this is beef of the year. And there were some good beefs this year in an era where you can fight with anyone on the internet at all times, no matter how stupid it is or how good it is. It's just like it makes for some real wonderful beefs on the waves of the internet. And we got some good categories here. So who, Zach, you can take this first one because this is a personal corner of yours.
I thought AJ had something to say about it, but if I want to take it, okay. Sturgill Simpson taking on the CMAs was absolutely legendary. It was such a great thing that he did. He was just busking outside the CMAs because, fuck the Nashville establishment and all that, but he made some legitimately good points, and that speech he said, that fake award acceptance speech he gave was some really powerful stuff. He just doesn't give a shit. He's calling out, I think one of the direct quotes was, "Fascism and hegemony are alive and well in the Nashville establishment." And the fact that he has the balls to say that, never mind the balls to go outside of the CMAs and busk and put his Grammy next to his guitar case, just another subtle fuck you.
Yeah,
and say things like that.
So in the terms of productive beefs of the year, quality beefs, meaningful beefs of the year, it's hard to find one more valuable than this, because his most of his major reasoning for this was a lot of it was fueled by a lot of artists that he supported and were friends with weren't nominated for vaguely political reasons, but also that the CMA was barring journalists from asking questions of country music stars on the red carpet about anything vaguely political or even remotely, they were basically handing out pre-approved questions that you could ask on the red carpet, and Sturgill Simpson, being a country music fan in the year 2017 is very, very difficult, as Zach and I can attest to. There's not a lot, and shouts out to Wilfer Thrill as well, who keeps it real. There's not a lot of good music by good people to check out, and the stuff that there is must be preserved and fought for at all costs. Shouts out to Jason Isbell. Shouts out to Hooray for the Riff Raff. But Sturgill Simpson is the god and the leading member of the pack when it comes to country music that is good, capital GTM. And so this move was just using your position for productive change, which the music industry needs more, but I don't think there's a genre that needs it more potentially than country music when the audience you're speaking to is probably entirely white and uninformed. So shouts the fuck out to this guy.
Yeah.
Real quickly.
This is why I thought AJ was going to take the lead on this discussion. He actually knows things.
But real quickly, while we're on the topic of good country boys, I saw maybe the best tweet I've seen maybe all year earlier today from Jason Isbell, which is where he tweeted that I get a kick out of people who think because I make Americana music, I'm supposed to dress like a damn horse repairman or some shit. And that is so good. Even though I am not quite on the alt country wave, I'm teetering on it, about to hang 10 and surf on this dang wave. I fully recognize that Jason Isbell and Sturgill Simpson are incredibly good boys. They're very good boys, and I fully support our support of them.
And
So yeah, shout out.
Jackson, you got this next one's all yours.
I'm not going to go too deep on this one because we definitely have talked about this on an episode of the podcast, but the Radiohead versus Fox News beef was incredible. There was like a good 2-week period where Johnny Greenwood was online and he was shitposting, and those brief moments in between him making like movie scores where he decided to like tweet SpongeBob memes of Radiohead albums and then like also like comment on this hilarious Fox News segment about Radiohead fans was incredible. I love Johnny Greenwood with every ounce of love in my body, and the strange malnourished and something else was like one of the best like things that happened this year. Fox News just deciding to go after Radiohead because they got nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and like Radiohead was just like, nah, we don't care about the Hall of Fame and we're going to take you making fun of us and laugh at it. It was very good. Radiohead beefing with conservatives is generally good. That's all I have to say about this.
That's perfect. And this next one, Alex put this one on here, so Alex.
I love this one with all my heart.
My nomination was LCD Sound System versus Good Decisions, and there are several examples of this beef, such as the title of their album, and the cover art of their album, and the content of their album, and that's all I have to say about it.
I think my biggest gripe with this it made my top 50 list just because I think like even a bad LCD sound system is going to be something I very enjoy a lot, but like that wasn't a sentence. But LCD, like the fact that if you were to reorder the track list of this album, it would probably be like 10 spots higher on my rankings is a testament to how impossibly bad the track listing is on this album. Like, I do not understand how anyone like put these songs in this order and was like, this is good. It's baffling. It is baffling that you put you take the 3 singles from the album and you put them all consecutively like 2/3 of the way into the album, so that you're listening to the album and then you get to this long stretch of songs you've already heard before and you always lose interest in the album. Or the fact that you take 2 long songs in Other Voices and was it Other Voices and what's the other one?
How Do You Sleep?
No, not How Do You Sleep. It was Other Voices and
like I Used
Change
to.
Your Mind?
It's like Change Your Mind and I Used to. Those 2 songs at the beginning that are right next to each other that just like are the same song and like are different enough that it's okay they're on the same album, but like putting them back to back just highlights the fact that they are really very similar songs, and the whole thing is, and then derailing the emotional climax of the album by putting Emotional Haircut as the penultimate track.
Yeah, what the actual
What was that?
Literally every single decision about the track listing is wrong, besides that Oh Baby is a good opener, Blank Screen is a good closer, and the transition from How Do You Sleep into Tonight is good, and everything else is bad. Every other decision is bad. It is remarkable how many bad decisions they packed into one track listing. Yeah,
you can't deny this, because I don't think I've actually finished the album because the track listing is so bad, because I'm so exhausted. I'm too exhausted to listen to a 12-minute outro.
Exactly, yeah, because you just had to deal with James Murphy's bad decisions for that long. And
how did James Murphy? How did he not learn from Supersymmetry, the closer on Reflector, which was 13 minutes long and more than half of it was silence? And people were like, I mean, that song was good, but like 8 minutes of it were silence. And he goes, okay, let's do that again.
the absolute madman. Yeah.
Our third nomination is a very recent
Galaxy
one.
Brain Murphy.
Oh yeah, this is a very personal passion project of myself and Zach here, which is the Jesus and Mero versus DJ Academics.
I am aboard this train.
Oh, good.
Hong Kong.
Good. I'm glad.
Let's fucking go.
Because
we on TV.
Sometimes there's a beef that it goes back and forth. There's some shots fired sometimes there's a beef that is sort of one-sided. This was a obliteration where DJ Academic just did not understand that he needed to stop talking immediately and continued to talk shit in 240p, as our lovely boys Jesus and Mero pointed out. And basically there was a beef. It was started over basically nothing, and because DJ Academics refused to keep their name out of his mouth, Jesus and Mero just flamed him into the next millennium. And DJ Academics sucks. He
is a shitty fucking person.
He puts on for some real awful shit, and he did that thing a while back where he tweeted about Chicago murder stuff and was very exploitative about it, and it was awful. And he's just generally bad. And Jesus and Mero are one of 4 good things in 2017, and seeing them absolutely flame DJ Academics into another stratosphere was incredible. Those 2 5-minute long clips from their show that they put up on Twitter are just works of art in just roasting the fuck out of someone.
Yeah, besides being a morally reprehensible person for exploiting the Chicago stuff, anybody who supports Boong deserves to be destroyed.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. And also his both sidesy coverage of that rainbow haired dude who
6ix9ine.
We shall not name him.
No,
God damn it, Matty.
I literally don't care enough to learn his name. I refuse to. I just don't know. No. Anyways. Yeah, that was a good beef. Shout out to Jesus Mero.
It got me to watch a bunch of videos. It got me to watch a bunch of clips on YouTube.
Masterpieces. They are hilarious.
I started watching a bunch more clips from them, and they're fucking hilarious. And, and as of right now, maybe the only 2 good people at the Vice offices right now.
Oh yeah,
New Yorkers of the Year.
Do not disrespect Action Bronson like that.
I will disrespect Action Bronson like that. I won't mention what it is, but I can stand behind Action Bronson being kind of a piece of shit. I can stand behind it.
Okay, well, yeah, but I like all of his TV shows and his rap album. They're good. Anyways, that's a different point.
But our 4th nomination, or actually, our 4th nomination. This is one of the rare 6 ones we're having. Where generally we're trying to keep everything to 5 or less, but there's sometimes we gotta go above and beyond. And our 4th and not final. Our 4th nomination. Actually, no, wait, it's 5th. It's 5th. Shit.
It is a nomination.
It was a last-minute addition. I don't know who added it. I want to guess Alex, but they just dropped from the call. So, the Indieheads Podcast was quality content. We discussed this in Disappointment of the Year. We are...
I think AJ added that in response to us flaming Arcade Fire a few minutes ago.
Actually, it was me.
Yeah,
it's very who would assume such a thing?
It's very predictable.
This is a long-running beef, about a 3-year-long beef now between the Indieheads Podcast versus quality content. But I think really the beef stepped up a level this year, and we were even more opposed to putting out anything that could be deemed as good or quality.
I gotta agree generally. I think we had glimpses where it almost seemed like we put out something quality. I personally really like the What's in My Bag video we did. But
that's fantastic content.
That is great content.
Jay Brecky podcast.
The Driver's Cast.
Also, brief aside, but hugest of shouts out, because we haven't had a podcast since this happened, but hugest of shouts out to Lily for getting shouted out by Michelle Zahner on Twitter for her wonderful, wonderful write-up about soft sounds.
We discussed this happened on the last podcast, didn't it?
I don't think we talked about it on air though. I think it happened.
No, we did. I remember because Lily mentioned it on the podcast that I'm now best friends with Michelle Zahner or something like that.
Oh yeah, actually no, I remember. You're right. That was she just came out of the gate in the intros talking wild shit about being best friends with Michelle Zahner, which fair. I would also be talking wild shit if I had that interaction, so shouts out.
But okay, anyways,
a recent example of this. One more thing. A recent example of this feud is us still refusing to release the Julian Baker podcast because
we discussed this at length on the last podcast. I said that it just the time. I mean, here's the thing. It was discussed on the last podcast. It will be out by the end of the year, hopefully. Because I have the audio. Just to put it briefly, the audio quality wasn't that great. My internet was having issues, and I just kind of put it at the wayside for a very long time, to the point where it was like, it's been too long since it was recorded. It just stays on the shelf, but it will be out before the end of the year. I made that promise. Anyways,
all right, but
our sixth.
This is your now and later stuff. Talk about it now. Hope you get it later.
We have also declared active war on quality content on this particular episode, I believe.
Yes,
that's true.
But anyways, our sixth and final, and our winner of Beef of the Year, and this beef has been going on for
literal decades.
For decades. Probably are they? How old are these? How old are these two men? Are they?
Well, I mean,
find out right now.
I think you count the official beef from the breakup of Oasis to now.
No, because they were beefing while they were in the same band. Okay, they were beefing while they were in Oasis.
Each other.
Liam is 45.
Noel is a bit older.
But yes, it's Liam and Noel Gallagher.
So this is a 40+ year beef, but this year it reached an almost peak height, and of course we were talking about Liam and Noel Gallagher as the beef of the year. Nothing will top this.
Because someone, I don't know who it was, but just like the internet world, like all of the noisies and the pitchforks and the internet music publications world realized you can just point a camera at the Gallagher brothers and they will give you good content. Like, and whoever came up with this realization, like, God bless you, because I literally wish I need there to be like a live stream camera that's just like pointed at them at all times, and because like they never stop saying things that, including every single second of that pitchfork over under, including the Noel Gallagher quote, "Do you know what I fucking hate about books?" but in general, this year was a great year for their beef, and really the true like cherry on the top of this beef was the fact that, despite the fact that they've been beefing publicly for decades, there was like 1 week toward the end of this year where there was like a news story circling around the internet that they've squashed the beef, that they made up. They're friends again, and literally a week later it was like, yeah, no, they hate each other still, which is just incredible. It truly encapsulates the year that we've had with these two absolute boys just like hating each other at a level that is truly admirable for how petty it is.
Far be it from me to credit Rolling Stone for anything, but they got in early on this Noel Gallagher wave. I distinctly remember like a 2015 interview where he said, "I don't like Alt J because the lead singer has a mustache."
Zach,
yes,
you already hit me with the roast once. I don't need it again.
Matty, that's a cell phone actually. That is a cell phone, buddy.
He was very much trying to reference me, okay? We know that.
That wasn't directed at you. You're just self-conscious about your objectively bad mustache.
Yeah, you exposed yourself. You revealed your weakness. And now you've been owned by yourself.
The fact that you said my weakness implies that I have only one weakness, when in reality, as we have learned over the past 3 years, I have so many. Too many to discuss. Anyways, let's get back on topic at Liam and Noel Gallagher. Again, two absolute boys. It got to a point, here's the thing, I almost debated not wanting this to be the winner because of how overwhelming it was, because almost every single day there was a Liam or Noel Gallagher story on the Indieheads subreddit about them hating each other. It just got to a point where it almost became overexposed, but that's kind of why it's the beef of the year, because it's continuous, alright? In terms of, like, you know, when we think of great beefs, you know, I'm going to use one. I think that the pallbearer for great beefs, just for just the one medium where they just have the best beefs. Zach can hopefully attest to this. Professional wrestling has some of the best beefs in the world. You got Rock versus Austin.
Oh, absolutely.
Hogan versus Andre. I was going to say Cena and Orton. Cena versus CM Punk.
Yes.
Liam and Noel Gallagher is on that level of just
It is very pro wrestling,
and that it is consistently entertaining. Because here's the thing: here's what happens with this beef is that it could disappear for a little bit. You maybe there's some rumblings, there's some hints that is it going to happen again? But no, it doesn't happen. And then the storyline, it comes back into play, and it's just beautiful to watch. It's just magic every single time.
Never gets old.
So this is
speaking of things that never get old. This next category is something that I never get tired of doing, which is pointing out how much I fucking hate this dude. Because now we're going to be talking about the head ass of the year.
And this is our first time doing head ass of the year too.
There are only 2 nominees for head ass of the year. There is a runner-up who is well deserved, and then
it's really a 1A and 1B situation.
But also the 1A is I think easily the least we deliberated on any topic this year. So first, we'll do the runner-up first, just so we can get this out of the way. David Longstreth of the group Dirty Projectors.
Not really a group anymore. Not really a group. It's just
a solo project in which he can whine about the fact that he's a bad boyfriend. He had a good run in the beginning of this year with his general behavior toward his ex Amber Kaufman in the promotion of his album and also in the material of his album. And then on top of that, you've got all the stuff he said about indie music in large quotation marks.
That was so hilariously stupid.
It was that was unbelievably bad.
That was so bad. That was so bad. Robin Pecknold had to come into the subreddit and do damage control.
Yeah.
Zach is correct. This did actually happen. That Robin Pecknold had to come into an Indieheads thread to try to calm everybody down and be like, "Hey, no, I'm being misrepresented.
Chill the fuck out."
So, but Dave
I don't know about Dave, but I'm being misrepresented.
Here's the thing with Dave Longstreth. The most head-ass thing, besides the content of his album, the most head-ass thing is how he released it. And I won't say I do have an inside source, but I remember someone on the subreddit was I was mentioning that everything about the Dirty Projectors release was very deliberately trying to fuck over his ex. And someone's like, "No, that's a conspiracy. You're just talking out of your ass." Even without this insider source, it's so fucking obvious. But it's pretty much true that Dave Longstreth basically timed the album's release and also just the promotional material for it around fucking over Amber Kaufman and her album release a few months later. So in September of 2017, maybe August, not 2017. This is 2016. He released the first single off this album, and it was here's the thing. At first, the thing with Dirty Projectors that makes this a good choice is that we almost didn't believe he was a head ass because he almost played that trick on us where we didn't fully realize how much of a head ass he was. But eventually, he revealed himself, and we saw that ass full and clear right on his stinking fucking forehead, and that dirty, scraggly beard he really needs to fucking shave. All right, and that's me saying that. All right, so. All right, if I'm saying that, Dave, you really gotta shave that fucking rat on your goddamn chin, okay? On your chin.
And I mean, we need to put it out there that the Pitchfork set that he put on this year, or they put on, I guess technically it was Dirty Projectors, but it was literally just this man on a stool. It's the worst live performance I've ever seen.
It was the worst set of Pitchfork Fest that I saw because it was terrible because it was very obvious that the only person in the band that he knew was the keyboardist because he was very obviously probably dating her, and everyone else was he literally just hired for that performance probably, and he tried to have them all do a bow at the end, and it was very awkward because it's Dave Longstreth, you've only known these people probably for a month so you can rehearse for this show. You don't know these people very well. Why are you they all had matching outfits except for him, all right?
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ, the head assery. But I want to go back to what I was saying. That the timing was deliberate. My inside source, it was very deliberate because people go, "Oh, it's not a conspiracy," but it's when he they both Amber and him have the same manager, and Dave worked on Amber's album, but Amber mentioned that they were coming towards the end of of the album. They were coming towards finishing it, and he like abruptly left the project, and that probably explains like why it was delayed for so long, because he left the project like right before it was finished, and so everything kind of was in scrambles for a while. But anyways, this was a close call for Head Ass of the Year.
This is a similar situation to like in 2015, how like there were lots of really great albums that would have been album of the year in most other years, but then To Pimp a Butterfly happened. And really, if there is a To Pimp a Butterfly of being a head ass, if there is a LeBron James of being a head ass, it is none other than Morrissey. I would like
Patrick Morrissey. What have you done now?
Here's the thing. There are few things that I enjoy in this world more than hating Morrissey. I really get a kick, and also like from this whole year, I've been very publicly on this train. Like as soon as Morrissey got a Twitter account, I decided it was going to be my mission to just get him to block me, which he doesn't actually run his Twitter account. So I have been unsuccessful in doing that. I repeatedly like tweeted pictures of hamburgers at him and be like, "You like what you see, bitch," which has not been successful so far.
Dude, what the fuck?
Yeah, I really hate Morrissey. He's kind of awful and just a genuinely bad human being. I don't like his music. I think it's overrated. That's a different discussion. He had an extended run of just being the worst in so many different ways for so long over 1 year. It's truly like Italian chef finger kisses, just like perfection in being a bad human being. From the defense of the sexual assault stuff, that was the most recent one, which was like a really bad pull quote, and then he was like, "No, I'm being misrepresented."
Oh no, the thing I said was actually worse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was like, "I'm being misrepresented," and then the media publication was like, "Sure, we'll release the we'll release the full transcript of the interview," and then they picked like. It turns out that the awful thing that he said was like the most generous quote they could have picked for him, and then
that
like
was the tip of the iceberg.
The actual thing that he was saying was like implying that like the reason why Germany has like high rates of like crime or like was it sexual assault was like because of like open borders. He basically had the exact same argument as like Donald Trump saying that like Mexico is going to bring in the rapist. It was basically that, but about Germany, which was just like wild.
I think he called Berlin the rape capital of the world.
I just need to get. I laughed there, but it's just because this man is so fucking ridiculously stupid.
Yeah,
the things that come out of his mouth are just horribly atrocious. And it's like if you should have learned anything in the year 2017, like about when you need to keep your fucking mouth shut, you know, this was it. And this man just went, "Oh no, not me. I think I am the smart one."
And the great thing about Morrissey too is real quickly. Is that he covers headassery large and small, so like he's good at the saying awful things that are like an actual atrocity to mankind, and also he'll do things like cancel a concert because it's too cold outside.
God damn it!
That was my favorite Morrissey headass moment of the year. He literally canceled a concert because it was like 60 degrees out. He said it was too cold.
Because the heater on stage broke, and it was like 55. It was in L.A. Like, it could not have been. Like, he just refused to like put on a jacket. So it's like it's incredible that he can.
Man's not hot.
He's the exact opposite of man's not hot.
Man continues to be hot.
It's just incredible that he is a master of so many different kinds of headassery and has utilized them all in 1 year. It's just
like, oh my god, it's amazing that someone managed to pry this award from the cold, dead hands of Dave Longstreth, and yet Morrissey did it anyway. I almost respect it. I
feel like they kind of work hand in hand. Like, Dave Longstreth is a good representation of all the kind of, like, problems that the entertainment industry has been dealing with for forever that have kind of, like, come out this year in terms of just like seriously marginalizing and objectifying women, and like then Morrissey is kind of like the people that enable that.
Exactly, and Yeah, I mean, I'm just really glad that in the year of our Lord 2017, I have no personal or emotional connections to the music by the band The Smiths, because it is a hard life out here for anyone who enjoys The Smiths music, because boy does he continue to be the worst.
I've discussed at length my opinions on the Smiths, and that one of the worst people I've ever met in my entire life. Favorite band was the Smiths, and that says it all. All right.
My opinion on the Smiths is The Cure's entire discography is in stores now. Go cop that.
But I think we've laid the smackdown enough on these two men.
This podcast is
not enough, but
I think
have
you
more
could
things
do
to
a
talk about.
3-hour long podcast on just how much of a fuck up Morrissey was this year, but like
we don't have the time.
We can definitely move on. Yeah.
We're coming in on 3 hours as is.
One of those is not recorded. One of those is deliberations and audio shit posting.
We're at an hour and a half. Yeah. Let's wrap it up. We got two more. We have a main category and then one that's like kind of half a half.
One's kind of a discussion of sorts. Yes. At the end.
We're gonna try to do this as not as fast as we can, but basically we're gonna be a little breezy on this one. Song of the Year, and we got 5 nominations. And Zach, I want you to start us off because this is your pick, and go for it, buddy.
Okay. I think the Song of the Year is pretty obviously Big Fish by Vince Staples. I mean, it just has everything you could possibly want from a song by Vince Staples in 2017. Like, the Juicy J hook is amazing. The beat is infectious. Vince's verses are fantastic and really insightful. And honestly, like, and I feel weird saying this, it's accessible in a way that I wish a lot more of Big Fish Theory, the album, was. Like, it's just the platonic ideal of a Vince Staples song in 2017. Everything about it just works and works perfectly. I don't understand the people who put Back Back over this. Back Back is a good song, but Big Fish is better. That's how it is.
I as one of those people, I love Bag Back a lot, and I think Bag Back is like one of the best political songs of the year. But Big Fish is also really good, and having a Juicy J chorus on your song is a good decision that more people should partake in. Because, by the way, Juicy J actually dropped one of the best hip hop mixtapes of this year. It's called Bubba Band Business, and it's incredible. But yeah, shout out to Big Fish. That's a good song.
Our second our second nomination, Jackson. I'll let you take this one because I know you were.
Wait, are we doing the one that we've chosen, or are we moving to the one after that?
I would say the
we're doing the one after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
One after that.
All right. Next song on here.
Dumb Surfer.
Yeah, Dumb Surfer by King Cruel. Damn, that's a good song right there. I really like the Ooze. I wrote an inordinate amount on the Indieheads subreddit about how much I like the Ooze. It's a very good album, and definitely like I don't think Dumb Surfer is like my favorite song on the album, but it's definitely like the catchiest and the best one to like take away as like a single that like stands on its own, because like my favorite song on the album is the title track, which is like the emotional centerpiece of the album. But like as a single song to be like, hey, this is why King Cruel rules, Dumb Surfer is awesome. It is like this urban, grimy, like post-punk song that like has these blaring horns and these incredibly like catchy like refrains in it that just get stuck in your head like nobody's dang business. And you've got some really nice like bass lines and guitar parts toward the back half of it that are super jazzy, and just the whole thing is just like the way that he managed to like synthesize so many different sounds onto this whole album, but especially onto this one song, is like really cool. And like this was a real grower that just got better and better as it went along. But yeah, shout out to Dumb Surfer. It's a good song.
All right, our third nomination. This was a last minute addition, but we had to do it to him with this one. So apologies to AJ Moser once again on this podcast, because he made a grand sacrifice to allow this as a nomination. So we
look. I do it for the people. It's okay.
So our third nomination is Perfume Genius Slip Away, and Alex, I'm gonna let you take this one.
So like there were actually a handful of really fantastic releases this year on like focused around kind of like real actual like grown up adult love and like what it means to love someone for a long time and be in like a committed relationship. And No Shape was maybe my favorite, and Slip Away is its absolute number one banger song, and I think just like it's kind of like a fun introduction to the album after like Other Side just messes you up, and I don't know, it's a blast, and the production is like just absurd and like fascinating, and it's just really good. It's just like everything a pop song should be.
I gotta agree. It's just the entire album is just such a jump, because after his last album, God, what I can't. Too Bright, is that right?
Too Bright,
yes,
which is one of my top 5 albums of the decade, by the way.
Too Bright is a great album. But I don't know if any of us were expecting like this just massive leap in sound and like production values. Where
I will readily say that like No Shape is a better album than Too Bright. I just prefer Too Bright.
Yeah, but I think No Shape is the best thing he's done. But my personal song of the year pick for this album, and my song of the year in general, is Sides by Perfume Genius featuring Wise Blood. Just God, whew. But we're talking about Slip Away, and Slip Away was the first single, and God, I as soon as it came out, I'm like, I'm gonna fucking love this album, aren't I? It's just such a perfect. It's not the opener of the album, but it's a perfect opening statement for Perfume Genius in 2017.
Yeah,
this is what
it was a really perfect and interesting like lead single, especially just like it's so different from the rest of his discography, and
like the art of having a lead single that like perfectly like summarizes where you're going with the next album and sets the expectations in a really good way and stands alone as a great piece of art but also makes sense within the context of the album is like, it's the platonic idea of what a lead single for an album is like supposed to be, and it's cool when an artist is like able to do that the way that Perfume Genius does here.
Exactly. And I'm very happy to have it on the list. And it's just, again, a brilliant pop song. The way it moves and just the explosions in sound, like from that first chorus, is just Italian kiss fingers. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
It's good shit, fam.
I will co-sign that Italian kiss fingers, especially just in regards to the whole album.
The entire album.
This is a good record. If you haven't listened to it, you're really fucking up your life, and you should change that.
Exactly. But our fourth nomination for Song of the Year, and one that we almost picked, but we almost picked it. It is a very close runner-up, and that's Mount Erie Ravens. And there's AJ. When we were discussing like what to pick as winners, I think AJ had a really good comment about this, and I'll let you take it away for this one.
Well, so this was my personal song of the year, and I was saying that I like made that decision as an active kind of dismissal of me including A Crow Looked at Me on my album of the year list, because kind of like deliberating and debating internally where I would place that album like in comparison to other, pieces of music that were released this year just kind of felt wrong, like considering everything that went into the making of that album and the conditions behind that album. I definitely from the first time I listened to it, I knew that I definitely did not want to even entertain that internal conversation of being like, where would I rank this on my albums of the year? And so for me, Ravens like does everything that the album does on an emotional spectrum within its like 6 to 7 minute runtime. It kind of like clearly gets across the story and like is very much like, if you don't like this, like you won't like this album, or like if this, you know, really resonates with you, like you're probably going to have a deeply personal experience with this album. I think Ravens is like an incredible centerpiece of the record, and like clearly it is not the entire story of Phil Elverum's experiences and like his family going forward, but I think like to point at Ravens as a product of A Crow Looked at Me and to be like, that's like what this fucking thing does, like that's what we're dealing with here, I think is pretty easy to do, and just kind of look at it and say like, this is what that piece of music is. And I really think like, you know, as an album it does incredible things, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in the future. It does like, you know, things that possibly have never really been done before, like on this level. But as a song, I think Ravens is like the perfect amalgamation of everything that the album does, and it really is just like that incredible achievement. And like, not even the first time I've heard it, but just like almost every time I listen to it, I find it finds new ways to just like floor me and blow me away and stun me. It's an incredibly heartbreaking piece of music.
Couldn't say any better. That's all I can really say.
It's fantastic. Yep.
It's a fantastic single.
Please buy A Crow Looked at Me, or support Phil Elverum in some way. He's got a really swell website, PW Elverum and Sun, as in SUN, like the sun. He's got lots of cool shit there, some cool art books. You can buy stuff from him, dating back to the microphones, t-shirts. He's got Genevieve's work on sale too, which I'm looking into buying some really interesting artwork that she did and her records, and he's got a few other releases. Just like, support this man in some way.
Yeah, like if you can't find your way into the internet to go buy something from him, just like find him on the street and just like stuff money into his pockets if you can.
If you can.
I quite literally did that.
Donate button on his website. There's a donate button on his website if you don't want to buy anything, even if you just want to give $1. I'm sure it helps.
If you think you can handle it and you have the means to, get to one of his shows, because like this tour specifically is one of the most unforgettable and unique, like singular experiences I've ever had at a live music concert. Like, it was just, I definitely will never ever forget that show.
I sat on the stairs in a tiny room and watched him, and he was funny and sweet, and just like the performance was so gentle and like is amazing. I don't really know what else to say. Like, everyone in the room was totally silent except when, like, I don't know. He actually had to tell us that we could clap after the first song.
That's a very good summation of like how I feel about the Mount Irian album. Like, please tell me I can clap at this.
Yeah.
Well, and again, like I said, we'll discuss the album a bit further once we get into the album of the year list. As unsurprisingly, it's going to be on our top 10. If you've listened to the podcast.
That's not a spoiler.
That's not too much of a spoiler. But let's go to our fifth and final nomination and our winner for Song of the Year. One that the Ravens, it's, as AJ discussed, it's sort of hard to like be like, this is the best song of the year. It's just like, yes, but also it's just the
and also like, Ravens is like a perfect encapsulation of the album as a whole in many ways, but it isn't for me like the song that I take away from that album as like a musical piece that is like
true. To me, like, that's weird, because to me it like 100% is.
In a way, I think it's kind of fucked up to call any of like the pieces of recorded something on that album songs. Like, I don't know.
The whole thing is weird.
It just feels wrong. It's not like, yeah, like the word song reminds me of just like consumption, it's like, it's kind of like a bite-sized thing, smaller than an album, like a component of an album, and like it's got, like a verse and a chorus and a verse, and like it's just not correct
what that is. I think the real thing is that we don't have like language to talk about what it is. It's not that we like can't or shouldn't talk about Mount Erie. It's just that like the traditional languages and structures we have to like the way that we consume these things is we make lists and we do these podcasts and things like that. And like there's a reason why every single review you've read of a Mount Erie anything this year starts with a PSA at the beginning that's like, I don't really know how to talk about this. Like I don't think I've read anything about this album that start with a preamble of yeesh. And like I think that speaks to the fact that this like piece of art almost exists entirely out of like what our expectations of like what music can or like should be, and it is a truly like one of its own experience in many ways. Yeah.
All right. Our winner, as I was trying to discuss, our winner of our song
Drum
of the year,
roll,
though.
please.
Thank you, Frank Ocean, Chanel. Come on, it's fucking Frank Ocean. You gotta, come on.
They're both bad like Chanel.
This is my song of the year on my list, which I haven't put out, and I don't think I will actually, because it was becoming too much of a pain to order 100 songs. But yeah, Frank Ocean, Chanel. Frank Ocean spent this year actually releasing music, which was not something I expected after everything I know about that man.
But it was all good, which of course was to be expected.
Well, yes, exactly. It's like if we get it, it's gonna be good. We all know that. And of all the singles he released, the very first one, Chanel, this is my award for the song where you can press that single repeat button on your Spotify player where you just have it loop back into itself, and you can legitimately listen to this song like 15 times in a row and not get bored of it, because it is so perfectly like it's so light on its feet in the way that it is playful and emotional and like rapping and singing and just like existing in all these spaces at once. And like one of the biggest ways I've described Frank's music over the last 2 albums and now basically EPs worth of songs that were dropped this year, where like it's just completely like weightless. Like watching Frank Ocean like record music is like watching someone with like superpowers who just like has no gravity and just can completely like he can turn in any direction and go from rapping to singing to rapping on like a dime, and it's just completely like seamless and existing between all of them at the same time, and like has so many quotable lines, but also like can get you in your feelings if you're listening in the right way. And it just like the way that he creates pieces of music that like evoke so many different things in one like succinct and concentrated like burst of creativity is just incredible. The song rules. The part where he says I need a bitch to grind on my belt is incredible. Every line in this song is incredible. It's also real quickly before I continue, the thing that I hate about this song is not about the song, but it is about the way that people talk about this. So there were a lot of music blogs that released lists this year. It was a new trend this year where all these music blogs started releasing lists about music. I don't know maybe we'll call it Listmas or something. I don't know. But on a lot of these lists, a lot of people talked about the song, and they were like, this Frank Ocean song, it's got a lyric on it where he says, my guy pretty like a girl. And it was a song it was a song about being bisexual. I'm like, no, it wasn't a song about being bisexual. Actually, it just has a single lyric where he talks about a guy being pretty like a girl. And like, the way that this song is framed in that way upsets me a lot, because I think it is like so much more than that. And I think the queerness in Frank Ocean's music is something that is like very like important, and I don't think it should be minimized, but I also don't think that you should try to make it into something that I think Frank Ocean is clearly not like intending it to be. Like there's a really great Fader piece from this year where they talked about like the magnification of like Frank Ocean as a queer icon, which is something that in some ways he is, because he is a representation of like a queer person in like this pop music space, but also like he's like his albums are not about that. Like that's not the thing that they are about. he is queer in them, but that's not like the thing that you should be talking about when you're talking about his music. It's a component of it. It's a part of it. And in some songs, like Good Guy is in many ways a song about that. Chanel is not a song about that. Like, and so like I detest the narrative around this album where no one can talk about it without mentioning that one lyric from it. But in general, I do appreciate that it made it onto lists because boy, it's a good song. It's a good song. My Frank Ocean stan levels reached truly unprecedented heights this year. Shout out.
Quick and dirty shout out to Jeremiah. Chanel is his most listened to song ever according to iTunes.
Yeah, when the song came out, Jeremiah just listened to it for like a week.
He would literally
seriously on repeat for like about a week. He would switch between it and Slip Away, but usually it was just Chanel.
He would pop into the chat and said, "I've listened." Like he would with the numbers like going like a very increasing like amount. It was like I've listened to Chanel like 5 times in a row. I have listened to Chanel 15 times in a row, and then eventually like I've listened to Chanel like 80 or 90 times. And at this point, it's probably close to like 200. It's the 200-300 range at this point. The man's
the only person I've seen that is more devoted to his craft of listening to a song like no one's business is my boy Zach on Twitter. Not our Zach, but the other Zach Afshar.
Oh.
Zach Afshar is a Kendrick Lamar stan who straight up listened to Humble like 1,000 times, like a number of times that I actually cannot. But like I feel like he just leaves it running at his computer and like goes and does other stuff in his life to like rap. Like I cannot believe the numbers are as high as they are. Like it was a true achievement in stanery this year.
Oh, I'm just thinking about the Linkin Park guy who's the only song he listens to is "In the End." Is it "In the End" by Linkin Park? I'm trying to remember.
I'm not.
There's a
sure
4chan. Okay, hang on. So there's a guy on 4chan who popped up, or someone like I think like the original story is that some guy went to his friend's house and he only listens to "In the End" by Linkin Park and it had almost 30,000 plays. And then later on, that guy showed up in his own thread, like maybe 2 months after, and he listened to "In the End" by Linkin Park 64,694 times.
God damn, that's a lot of times.
And this was in 2014, so it's probably 100,000 at this point, especially because Chester Bennington died. It's got to be really high at this point.
Chanel is a great song. It is my second most listened to song of the year. The only song I listen to more is a song I don't talk about anymore, because it was by a band that I don't like anymore, which we don't need to get into.
We won't get into, but let's get into some bands that we like.
Let's do that.
We're gonna quickly get into this because we are approaching the 2-hour mark, so we're gonna very quickly go through this last part.
We need to go through this
because this could be its own podcast, and we'll probably do a more thorough podcast on this in the future. But let's talk about our most likely to drop album of the year 2018. There's no consensus winners. We're just gonna talk about some albums we're excited about very quickly, and I'll start off because I only have like 2 on here that I really want to talk about.
Well, I only have 1.
Well, I'm the host, Zach. So
good for you.
I'm the host. Very quickly, my first pick, Ought. I love Ought a lot. They are my favorite post-punk band of like this current like post-punk scene. They are my favorite, and I actually just got sent this album today. So tomorrow, I'm gonna go. I'm a wild out tomorrow. All right, so I'm very excited to listen to this. These Two Things is a very great single, and I'm very excited to check out the rest of the album. My second one that I almost forgot, we almost forgot to put it on here, but luckily, before we did this, we were like, oh God, of course, Car Seat Headrest. Teens of Denial was my album of the year last year, and I'm actually I'm still mad that we did not pick it for the podcast album of the year because I thought it was in the bag until like October when the Psychopomp train really began to take steam.
The Psychopomp virus consumed the Indieheads podcast.
Yes, exactly. It was like a cancer,
all
and
good
it
things,
spread
all
to
good
everyone.
things.
But Car Seat Headrest, I'm really excited. Here's the thing: we discussed on the last podcast, but Beach Life and Death, the remake, it is so good, And one thing I discussed that with all these like new Car Seat Headrest tracks, whether it be remakes of basically the remakes of the songs on Teens of Denial and Beach Life and Death, is that there's a new sense of triumph that we haven't quite seen from Old Toledo. That it seems like it's going to be a pretty big theme on this next album, and I'm really excited to hear a fully triumphant Car Seat Headrest album. I'm really excited about that. Like, basically, Car Seat Headrest going arena rock on their own terms. I'm into it. I want to see it. So those are my main two picks.
The Beach Life and Death re-recording and definitely got me interested for the Twins. Jesus, I'm sorry, Twin Fantasy rework, because it's I don't know. He did a lot with it. Like there are a lot of ideas shoved into that one recording, and I'm curious about it. Before I was like, absolutely no, I do not want this to happen. And I think the reasons why I didn't want it to happen are still valid, in that like the emotionality of the original Beach Life and Death is not there on the new recording, but it's definitely interesting, and I do want to listen to it now.
Unironically, Twin Fantasy reissue like could be my 2018 hour of the year, like straight up. Like I might just be like,
yeah.
It came out again, and it was the album of the year back then, and it continues to be now. Shouts out to that album.
Zach, because Zach said he only had one. Zach,
it's a good one though.
It's a
beefy, huge one.
And once again, third year in a row, push a motherfucking T. President
What?
Push, please come through. I am begging you, please. That's really all I have.
Push a T, please come down from whatever mountain you're recording this album on and release it into the streets. Because I need to hear Push a T rapping about selling cocaine again. I need it in my life. I need it in my life more than I need most things. Yeah, that's about it.
All right, AJ, what you got for us?
My contribution is the U.S. Girls record, which I'm just thinking about how good Half Free was. Basically guarantees this album a spot on the list. But I think it's one of the closest ones that we have with like an actual tangible release date, and so I think it's probably going to be my first like album of the year. And so for that, I think it definitely deserves a shout out.
Indeed.
Alex, I'll let you, because you added one that I was like, I
100% agree.
Was one that we almost forgot about, because I'll let you go.
Let me go.
Which one?
Mount Erie.
I added like 3. We almost Mount Erie. Yes. Okay. So at the Mount Erie concert, I was lucky enough to attend. He performed like nearly a full album's worth of new material. Like, it wasn't a lot of new songs, but they were each like 20 minutes long, and it was incredible. And it's just like they just kind of deal with like him kind of grappling with the idea of like moving forward after the tragedy in his life, and I think it could be like just as stunning of a record as A Crow Looked at Me, although it feels weird to like discuss it in those terms and like compare the two. I just think there's gonna be more incredible music. Again, feels like a really perverse thing to say,
but I mean, we've heard the song, because I heard the songs too, because he played like, again, half the, like most of the set that I saw was it was new songs, and they're all really incredible. And I in our pre-show, basically just like figuring out nominees, AJ, because Jackson has not seen Mount Erie live on this recent tour, and like AJ explained to him like what these songs are, and
I had to do it, unfortunately,
because I knew I wanted to say the same thing, but it was like, because we all.
I asked AJ. I said, "Could you explain to me in like 5 words or less, like how this album relates to the last album?" And AJ explained it to me as a crow looked at me as universal themes, and this new album is Benji, and I almost exploded. I am ready for Phil Elverum to continue doing the work that he is doing, because it is truly like one of the most captivating things that has like happened in my music listening life. And so like shouts out to him, which feels weird to even God it's
impossible to be like, this album is good because it's basically like
the conditions under which it exists are like, I don't want that.
Yeah, objectively awful, and the album basically just is the conditions under which it exists. Like,
it is the
very
embodiment and realization of the conditions. It's not about the tragedy; it is the tragedy, and so it's hard to.
One thing I've thought is that this album is not like, it isn't a work of art. It just isn't. Like I think it would be like weird to call it art.
And that's what he like means on the Death Is Real when he says it's not for making it into art. He doesn't mean like that he shouldn't be recording this album, but he means that like, I'm not going to turn this into something that it isn't. I'm going to represent it in a way that feels like true to exactly what it is. And like it is so hard to like be honest in songwriting. Like, that is such a hard thing to do, is to go down and grab a piece of paper and write something that is like genuinely true to the experiences it's based on. And like, I'm not sure there's ever been an album that is as true to the actual experiences as this one was. We're getting too much into this album before the album of the year cast, but which we will talk about more. There are 2 more albums on this list real quick, and these are both absurdly Jackson core as we end out this cast. First of all, there could perhaps possibly be a new Tom York album on the way. Possibly. He did some solo live shows, and he premiered a new song which is called "I'm a Very Rude Person," which is...
There were like a few new songs.
Yes, so unreleased tracks and rarities apparently was what was played during these solo shows, which I missed. I was very bummed about.
But folks, Tom York is on his bullshit. We regret to inform you.
And we're getting for sure a Ed O'Brien solo LP is on the way.
It's going to be exciting.
Sometime, which is also going to be very exciting. But if we were to get Tom York solo LP3, that would be a colossal nut, as the kids would say. But
yes.
Folks, it's not an episode of the Indieheads podcast.
He's about to do it.
If I don't do the purely most predictable thing in this entire world, it is not a year in music. If I don't look forward next year and think, boy, what is my son Mark Kozilek, my dad, my significant other Mark Kozilek going to do in music next year? And he's announced that he's releasing 2 albums next. So he's releasing a live album, which is coming out in January, which is a live recording from the Chicago date of his last run of shows. I saw this tour live. It's one of the best live shows I've ever seen in my life, like full stop. And the live album that is recorded from it is going to be just pure like magic, and I'm excited for everyone else to get to experience what I experienced at that show, and I'm also excited to be able to re-experience some of the live renditions of Kaz songs on that show, because it's a show with a 3-piece string section and a bassist and a drummer and a piano player, and it's incredible.
I had the immense pleasure of last week being a witness at Mark Kozilek Sings Christmas Carols live, featuring Kevin Corrigan, who you may remember as the creepy uncle from fuck, some like weird sitcom, but I was like, oh, that's who this is. And that was an experience. Let me tell you what, I've seen Mark Kozlik live multiple times, but this one was just incredible, which featured live poetry readings, just, encouraged heckling, and then an entire segment in the middle where someone else came on, played an entire set, and then Mark came back. So someone opened up for Mark in the middle of his show, which was very interesting. Also, probably my favorite moment of the entire show was it was in the basement of a hotel in New York City, baby. And so Kevin was there early reading some poetry while Mark was coming down from his room, and Mark kind of walked into this very small theater where the thing was being held, like was clearly very confused about where he was, turned around and left. And so we kind of had to sit there and wait for Mark to come back a little bit, and he walks in, and the first thing he said was that Tony Visconti, famed producer of several of David Bowie's albums, was sitting in the front row, and that he would not perform because he was too nervous, and so made this multiple time Grammy Award winner get up and walk to the back of the theater so Mark could play the entire show. And then he also played, this was the point I was getting to, he played several of the songs from his latest album, one of which is almost 20 minutes long and devoted entirely to the country of Stockholm. There is some incredible stuff coming our way, folks.
Oh yes, give me Mark Kozlik songs that are unnecessarily long and depict specific European countries.
Yeah, I don't know if did he play House Cat at the show?
Yes.
That would be yes. So Mark Kozlik playing House Cat live, especially to a room full of people who A, mostly just thought they were going to hear Christmas songs, and then B, have never heard the song House Cat before, is one of the most wondrous things you'll ever experience.
Did he do the new song about the argument in the bookstore? Did you get to?
Yes, that one is classic Koz.
Oh, so he's releasing 2 albums in 2018. He's releasing
probably more.
Knowing him, like last year he wasn't supposed to tour or release very much music, and look how that happened. Yeah. So there are 2 confirmed albums, one of which is a more traditional Sun Kill Moon album that's going to be with I don't remember, he said he was recording it with someone specific, I forget who, but and then the other one is the one I'm honestly more excited for, which is that he recorded an entire album on tour in different hotel rooms using just his nylon string guitar and like a microphone that he brought with him, because he wanted to like get out of the rut of making albums in studios. And so that is going to be like just jaw-dropping, because like as much as I have loved the recent Koz output, I have sorely missed how much nylon string guitar was on like Benji and like Among the Leaves, because he is like truly an incredibly talented guitar player. Like he practices a lot, but not as much as Niels Klein. Yeah. But he's still like the absolute boy at that. So I'm excited to get to hear like stripped down Mark Kozlik again next year. Yeah. I'm gonna stop. I literally could talk about him for hours and hours and hours and hours, and I'm the worst. But I wouldn't tolerate this segment being on our list without mentioning my boy continuing to do that.
I mean, shit, man. I mean, what else can we say? I mean, there's one more album that we forgot. There's one more.
Yep.
We gotta do it again. We are running out of time. So let's
running out of time.
This podcast is already over 2 hours, and a solid hour of that is Jackson talking about Sun Kill Moon. I want to bet.
It really is like that sometimes.
But anyways, our final album that we're discussing, one that is one that we're both very excited about, but also the slightest bit of worry, Vampire Weekend LP4, which we discussed in the last podcast slightly at length, but not all of us were there. So whoever was not on that podcast and wants to talk about this, go. You go.
I'm worried. So here's how I feel about it. I'm worried that Rostam may have a lesser role. I know he's still producing the album. I'm still a little worried about that. But also, Ezra Koenig is a fantastic writer, as in of words, and I think an album with the core of Ezra Koenig's lyricism is going to inherently, be good.
That's how you pronounce his last name? I always thought it was Koenig or something.
Nah, it's Koenig.
Oh.
To my knowledge, it's Koenig. I remember researching this in high school, and I'm pretty sure it's Koenig.
One, I believe that is right, and two, I think this is going to be probably a good album. It's going to be different, so that different always is scary. Change is scary, but he hasn't released a bad album yet, and so until he does, I'm going to continue to expect him to release good ones. But I will be cautiously optimistic because obviously, everyone is capable of duds. The duds come for all of our faves eventually. But yeah, Ezra Koenig is great despite the fact that as I think this is a tweet, but he looks like a villain from a movie about summer camp. But besides the fact that. Besides that fact, he is incredible, and I do love him a lot. Shout out to Twitter user at @your_girl, the #1 Ezra Koenig stan on the planet.
I am very tired. I will keep my thoughts brief. Never count Ezra out.
Baby.
The only thing you could maybe say, oh, he shouldn't have done that, was the feature on the Subtract record from 2014
or
whenever.
No, that was a good song. That was a fucking great song, and I will fight you, Zach. I will fight you. All right.
Everything else was good.
Excellent song.
Get out of here, okay? Zach?
Fight me.
Zach?
Yes?
You just made the list, okay? You just made the list that I'm making up right now. The list of Matty. You're #1 on that list for dissing New Dorp, New York, which is a great song. But, folks,
this podcast has to end.
This has to end. We will see you guys next time as we begin our first half of our album of the year list. We have a great so far. It's not fully decided, but it's basically decided. We have a great top 10 for you guys. We're really excited to present it. As I'm proud of it, folks. I'm proud of it. I think as even though Alex said this year was dog shit, there was still a lot of really great music, a lot of great new artists I found, and I'm really excited to talk about some of that.
Actually, I said horse shit. It's heftier. There is a difference.
Yes, but anyways, we will see you guys in a couple of days, probably actually really soon, because we want to try to knock these out before the year ends. So we will see you guys very, very soon, and I mean that. All right, we're not taking any long ass hiatus. So soon. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.